Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of the Mindbreeze Podcast, Illuminating Information. Today we have on the head of sales at Mindbreeze, Gerald Martinetz. Gerald is an expert in deploying language models that are secure and instrumental for enterprise use. In this episode, we will discuss using large language models in an enterprise environment, the value of integrating an insight engine and a large language model, other AI use cases, and best practices for taking the next steps. So thank you for coming on, Gerald.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So let's start here with just the general concept of large language models before we start discussing their use in the enterprise. So what are the main benefits and any potential risks involved?
Yeah, I think large language models are really great, and nearly every organization is thinking about how to use or how to integrate a large language model in the organization. But why is this the case at the moment? I think based on that one application which is using large language model, and large language model exists already years ago, but one main application is ChatGPT, and I think nearly everybody knows ChatGPT and see what's the power of generative AI. So what is possible? What's the output in combination data with AI models? And nearly every organization has its goal to make the employees more efficient and to be more successful. And the benefit is quite clear for a large language model. On the one side, it's already the name, large language, it's natural language, so that you can speak and interact with applications, with your data. I think that's the main important benefit of a large language model. But also answering queries, so that a large language model can answer questions in a human-like manner with just natural language. I think that's also something where you just get an answer based on your question, and that's really cool. And with this combination, everything regarding translation. All of these large language models are trained with millions, billions of data in different languages. And this provides also that translation of text is from one language to another language is quite easy and efficiently doable. But there are even more benefits available, like summarization. So you can give just text to the large language model, and the large language model can provide quickly a quite powerful overview, which is quite helpful. But also when it comes to text generation, so that really based on the model and your question or your prompt, how you say it in a technical way, that it's generating text. And that's something where the large language models are really cool. But on the other side, I also have to say that there are quite some hurdles why large language model using in a company. There are some policies in place where this is not allowed. And what we hear as a main hurdles is on the one side the question intellectual property. So who owns the intellectual property of the outcome? Is it the one who has created the data so that the model can train? Is it the one who owns the service? Or is it the one who is generating the prompt? And that's a question which is currently not answered. So if you call an external application, then of course this learns based on your prompt, and that's something which is then critical. Also the security concerns with sensitive data, that's a topic. Also if you have your own model in your own organization, then it must provide for sensitive data that not every user get the information, but you can't train a model for every single user. That's just not doable. And the third important topic, what we always hear is, it's the term hallucination. So that describes a tendency of AI that it's just generating in a human like manner output. And it's hard for you to decide, is this real effect or is this just a fake news? And that's called hallucinations. And that's also critical, because if you have to do business decisions, that's something where you need to know where does this information comes from.
Okay, great. So just to expand a little bit more here, so what are the added benefits to a user of integrating a large language model into an insight engine such as Mindbreeze InSpire?
That's a good question. I think, especially in an enterprise use case, when you want to integrate a large language model, it's not feasible to risk the errors and spreading of misinformation using large language model. I think a big challenge for companies will be to ensure a large language model that is generated content that is accurate and trustworthy. Yeah, one way to eliminate this risk is to make use of a large language capabilities by connecting the model to a reliable data source, which are indexed by an insight engine. And this is exactly what we at Mindbreeze have done. So we have fully integrated pre-trained large language model in the core of Mindbreeze InSpire. But it's not only the only way how you can integrate this. We rely also on open standards like ONNX so that customers can use any models like their own created models or from communities like Hugging Face and can use this. And with this integration, you get all of the benefits of an Mindbreeze InSpire, of an insight engine. And just to tell some key benefits is, on the one side, the whole process of understanding enterprise data. So the whole retrieval process that you get enterprise data in your application, in your insight engine, means we have built connectors to more than 450 data sources. We support more than 500 file types. Also, data crawling is quite important, because if the data is changed, that's something which should be immediately available and searchable and available if you want to have an answer of a question. Everything regarding semantic connections, yeah, it's not only the data, the sentences of a content, the combination of structured information, metadata, what an insight engine can extract either from the content himself by using named entity recognitions, by using taxonomies, yeah, by linking data together with a semantic relation service, for example. Everything in the area of structured information extraction and linking them together is built in our graph index and our insight services to extract this information. Everything regarding safeguarding sensitive data so that you have the possibility to authenticate in a single sign-on environment, also in a large organization with SAML and the different IDPs behind the scenes, but also to get the security information from the data sources. It's just built in, yeah. Relevant information, so the whole relevancy model. Everything regarding personalization so that you get the context of the role of a person, therefore provide different information that's built in with the relevancy model in an insight engine. But also for the admins, important is if you then get this answer needs to be changed, could not be the answer that you then have to rebuild the whole model. But with the combination of an insight engine and large language model, you can use the whole relevancy model to change the answer also. Yeah? And of course, the seamless integration with our user interfaces. And that starts with guided navigation, 360-degree view of a customer, where you can generate, based on your use case, a special view which helps the customer service, which helps the salespeople, which helps the maintenance team, and so on. And all of these benefits, combined with large language models, that's the next generation. And the quite important benefits is, of course, natural language querying. That you really can ask questions as simple as our children's just ask a question. So that's, of course, a real powerful thing with the combination of insight engine and large language model, that you now can really ask as you always ask questions. But secondly, it's also that you get access to the relevant answer. Not only finding a document where you find then the information. No, you really get the sentence where this information comes from. Yeah? And as we have learned before, and as I spoke before, that large language model also can generate text. Yeah? It's generating answers based on the sentences where the information comes from. based on your query. Yeah. And therefore, based on that, every interaction depends on a search result coming from your enterprise data. An important benefit is that you can validate and source information, which means if you get an answer, and this covers exactly the topic hallucination, yeah, that the user can validate the answers anytime as the response includes source information. So this allows them to open the corresponding documents in the data source and view all of the details. And that's quite important if you make business decisions, that you know all details and you know exactly where this information comes from. In this context, also, it's important that the question, so the answer, is always provided in the context of the user. So all of the data permissions from the data source with full compliance, yeah, which means if you get an answer, you can use it because you know, okay, that's something I can also use because I have access to this information. In addition to that, the language model is integrated within the core technology of the Insight Engine, and therefore running locally on Mindbreeze InSpire eliminates the need of external calls. Yeah, and therefore everything regarding intellectual property, what was a hurdle I spoke before, that's just either on-prem or in the SaaS or in our cloud integration, but it runs locally on Mindbreeze InSpire, and it's always the data from the customers. Yeah, that's important. And finally, everything regarding semantic similarity. Yeah, and this includes with multilingual input or similarity between different words and sentences to get the answer, to get the information you need to make the right business decisions without maintaining ontologies, thesauri, and so on. And I think that's a really important add-on and benefit by integrating an Insight Engine with sensitive data, with enterprise data in combination with a large language model.
Okay. Yeah, that is very, interesting and in-depth stuff there. So, just to add here, some final, notes and points that we would like you to discuss. I'm curious, are there any other use cases for Insight Engines and large language models that you hear about in the market?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there will come up a lot of use cases in the future, but what we at the moment are focusing on, what we hear from nearly every customer is, on the one side, we call it Insight Search, so that you can interact with natural language and that you still can use the filters, the guided navigation from a search client, but that you also get answer boxes, yeah, so that you do not get only the documents, that you really get directly the sentence, directly the answer, but still can then click on it and jump directly to the document if you need more information. So that's the one main use case. The second is chat. Yeah. So everybody, of course, speaking about ChatGPT, but that you have a possibility to interact with your data in a chat format. Yeah. That's, I think, also important. But the big difference is that with the combination of an Insight Engine and large language model, that the model is generated based on your enterprise data. So the answer is generated based on your enterprise data, and that's important. And then the third important use case, what we hear, is summarization. Yeah, and this is used to summarize a search result, a document, to summarize maybe collected search results, yeah, and then make an overview about this. And I think that's also important and really powerful what large language models can provide in this context.
Okay, so since there seems to be a lot of, unmatched, endless benefits here with language models and, being integrated with an Insight Engine, I'm sure there are people that are, interested out there. So my final question would be, what is essential to integrate a large language model in an enterprise environment? And then what are best practices for any interested customers to take the next steps?
It's really easy to start and I think that's the main important topic, just do it and just start. Based on that, Mindbreeze with our latest version, comes with a pre-trained model, which is trained based on millions of data. Out of the box, you can easily start just activating. And our recommendation is to start with a reliable data source, such as company education materials or website contents, internet. So to start with a set of data sources, where you also have a clear understanding what are the questions for this data source, and then just index this data source and activate the large language model with the pre-trained. And that's something where you immediately get the output, and then you can play around and you see how good or how accurate the answers are. You can try it out where this information comes from. And if you're interested in, please contact salespeople from Mindbreeze, professional services people, support, marketing, or you also can just go to our webpage, search for large language model here, and you immediately come to our page where you can just leave a message that you're interested in. And we have packages. So it's really an easy thing based on that it's out of the box with pre-trained models. Mindbreeze is shipped there so that it's really easy for you to start and to see what's the power of the combination of inside engine and large language model.
Great. So that was highly insightful, and we really appreciate having you on, especially in today's environment where language models are making, a lot of noise and a lot of headlines in the AI world. So thank you very much for coming on. We really enjoyed having you.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.